show you how to use your watercolor palette. So the materials that you need, I've got my mini watercolor palette here. There's 15 colors. I've got a piece of cardboard to protect my table. I've got a paper towel, my watercolor sketchbook, a bunch of different brushes, and a cup of water. That's the most important part. My water's dirty. Make sure you have clean water. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this like flat edge brush, just dip it in my clean water, and I'm just gonna go ahead and apply water to my page, just like in the middle. And this will just help the watercolors kind of like activate. So then I'm going to go ahead and dip in my water cup again, pick a color that I want to use. I'm going to go with like a dark blue. You need your water in order to activate the colors, otherwise they're just like solid and they will not work. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint inside of that wet square that I just created. And I'm going to go ahead and use a lighter blue to kind of create like an ombre effect. So you can notice that when you have your wet paper, your colors will blend a lot easier. You can add some more pigment, and then the most important part of this is letting it dry. But if you want to create some texture, you can take a sponge, a piece of toilet paper, a piece of paper towel, kind of like something absorbent, and you can just kind of like blot away some of the color to create like a nice textured effect. So you can see this kind of looks like clouds, and then you can add in some more color. And I've got this nice like sky kind of forming. So you can go back and forth, alternate, and then let it dry. The more layers you add, the darker it will be, but watercolors by nature are a little bit more transparent. The next technique I'd like to show you is called dry brushing. So I'm going to switch to one of my dry brushes that hasn't been in the water yet, but I'm still going to use one of my activated colors. So if I try to like put my paintbrush in one of the colors that is not wet, it doesn't do anything, right? So you're going to like very minimally use the tiniest bit of water to activate one of your colors. So I'm just going to like tap a little bit of water into the color. And I'm going to go back to my dry brush. And I'm going to pick up as much color that I can. And on my dry piece of paper, I'm going to see what that looks like. You might need to play around with it. You might need a little bit more water. But I'm going to go ahead and use my dry brush. And you should get like a nice textural kind of like technique here. I think that one's kind of fun because you can see your paper poking through still. So it gives you just like a completely different effect. And again, you can layer colors. So I'm going to add that like darker blue on top of this, still using that dry brush technique. And then I'm going to go back to my wet paintbrush and just kind of like fill in some spaces. So I want to add a little bit more pigment to some areas. And I can do that and it will still show through kind of that original texture that I had. So I'm going very lightly over that. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in one more color using my dry brush technique. So I'm going to like wipe it on my piece of paper here and see if I can get another color layered on top of it. These paints seem to require a lot of water in order to be activated, so you kind of can't use too much here. So for this one, you're just going to explore some layering, play with your water amount, play with the dry brushes, and then lastly, you can add like some details. So I'm going to go back to that dark blue. I'm going to get my brush nice and saturated, and then see if I can add some nice line details kind of through this one. So for this one, you're just going to explore watercolors as a material. And feel free to post whatever it is that you come up with.